Hello YouTubers, Alaska Prepper here. Well, ladies and gentlemen, do you all remember during the health crisis when the pharmaceutical companies, I think they went to Congress and wanted to seal up all of their information about the health crisis and the juicy juice for like 75 years or so, and they were turned down? Well, normally as a private institution, I would say you should have the right to keep your personal property private. But in this case, these pharmaceutical companies, they were publicly funded to make that juicy juice that was induced amongst a very large portion of the population. Well, this in turn takes me to what I want to talk about today, and it's that the CDC, a publicly funded institution, has put out a paper on some of the effects that may or may not be caused by the juicy juice that they approved on people's hearts. And before we continue, I want to say thank you very much to the sponsor of this video, Genesis Gold Group. Ladies and gentlemen, I do appreciate your support, especially during these types of videos, because these tend to sometimes get me in trouble. So I'll do my best to go through what I have to talk to you about here, because I think it's very important. And before I started recording this, I asked myself, what kind of message am I giving out here? All of this stuff that we're talking about has already come and gone, right? But ladies and gentlemen, the thing is that this will happen again. They are setting it up so that it happens again, so that they can take away more of our liberties and continue to do that until we have absolutely none. So how do we learn? We learn from the past. We learn from our mistakes. The CDC releases 148-page study on myocarditis following the juicy juice, with every single page redacted. Before I carry on, ladies and gentlemen, understand this. This is not an I told you so. I think it is very sad what has happened, not only in this nation, supposedly the freest country in the world, but worldwide with the health crisis, and how I believe that the juicy juice was coerced upon the population. I'm not a financial advisor, but the folks at Genesis Gold Group specialize in helping those who want to diversify their excess wealth by converting their fiat currency retirement plans into a plan that is backed by real money. So if you're in a position where you are wondering what you can do in order to diversify or insulate your wealth against what I like to call the inferno of inflation, give Genesis Gold Group a call, and they can provide you with the information that you need in order to make an educated decision. And as always, for those of you that normally don't watch these news videos, I always skim through the article, give you my 2 cents, and I do leave the links to all of these articles on a pinned comment. The U.S. Centers for Disease Control and Prevention, the CDC, has finally released its long-awaited report on myocarditis. And for those of you that don't know what myocarditis is, I'm not a health professional, but I believe it has something to do with the heart and like liquid building up around the heart, or the heart swelling, something like that. They say here that the only problem is that every single page on the study that the CDC released was redacted. But why, ladies and gentlemen? Isn't this a public organization? Is this study that the CDC did, does it have something to do with national security? I mean, it's about myocarditis, for heaven's sakes. What would that have to do with national security? Well, when it constitutes, probably, my opinion, those that play in the pharmaceutical industrial complex and get paid from the pharmaceutical industrial complex and maybe have donations made onto them, i.e. Congress, Senate, etc., from the pharmaceutical industrial complex, well, then maybe it's justified that these pages be redacted so that those that portrayed this thing, this health crisis that happened a few years back, as something that you couldn't ask questions about. Just do what you're told so that they can be protected. You know what this is? This is a slap in the American people's face. That's all this is. This is a, I'm going to do what I want, Mr. and Mrs. Citizen, even though you pay the taxes, even though you're my boss, and you're not going to do anything about it. So take your pill and shut up. That's what this is. And I agree 100% with the next statement here, that clearly the CDC has something to hide from the American public if they had to redact the entire study. All right, and this is absolutely insane, says this tweet from Vigilant Fox. We are now over 3 years past the rollout of the juicy juice. There's obviously something very damning that they are trying to hide. And why wouldn't anyone think that? And what do they have to say about it? Well, they go on to say that when people or institutions conceal evidence of their behavior, it's fair to draw an adverse inference regarding their conduct. Another X account tweeted, when it's a public institution, it should be treated as evidence of criminality because it is. And take a look at this. This is the 148-page report right here with every single page redacted. It turns out that the Therapeutic Goods Administration, which is Australia's version of the FDA, did much the same thing in its own myocarditis report after a Freedom of Information request was filed to have it publicly released. And this is Australia's version of it. Look at that, ladies and gentlemen. About 99.9% of anything on any of these pages released were redacted. What is it that they have to hide? I think that in the coming years, we're going to find out in great numbers what it is that they had to hide. If not, think about it. Why were the pharmaceutical companies trying to hide their paperwork from the public until the year 2096? Now, let me know if you agree with this, ladies and gentlemen. The CDC cannot be trusted anymore, and the heads of the department. Walensky and others should be tried in front of a military tribunal for crimes against humanity in accordance with the Nuremberg Code. Do you notice, ladies and gentlemen, that laws that are written are only written for we the plebes? How many real criminals have we seen not be prosecuted in the last several years? Think about that. And as the CDC redacts all 148 pages from their study, they are saying older adults should get another dose of the juicy juice. You can't make this stuff up. The Centers for Disease Control and Prevention have suggested that older Americans should get another dose of the juicy juice. This most recent booster shot should be administered 4 months after the last. We're going to end this video off with something that gives me a little bit of hope. Not because I think they're going to do anything, but I think that the more people that see this, the more people that will wake up, that there is good out there. There is a fight, a battle going on right now, a war going on right now, ladies and gentlemen, between good and evil. And we have to expose the good side just as much as we expose the bad. World Council for Health. Governments exploited public health emergencies to violate human rights. Do you think you'll be hearing this kind of stuff on the mainstream media, ladies and gentlemen? If you appreciate this, please share this video, give it a thumbs up, because it's a way that the YouTube algorithm will pick it up and distribute it to more people for their viewing pleasure. And hopefully you get something out of this as well. To raise awareness of what constitutes an emergency and countries' obligations, last month, World Council for Health published a legal brief on preventing the abuse of public health emergencies. The document explains how governments used an unjustifiable state of emergency as a legal instrument to deny people basic human rights and freedoms and to grant themselves extraordinary powers. Ayn Rand said it best when she said this. I will paraphrase, her quote. When governments write laws that do not protect the people against governments, but that protect the government against the people, society is doomed. The authors of the legal brief maintain that had people across the board been properly informed about the requirements of international human rights laws and the prerequisites necessary to declare a legitimate state of emergency, gross violations of fundamental human rights would not have been possible. What are they saying here? That we, the public, need to be informed. Do your research. I've said it a million times probably by now. Many consider the health crisis to have been a worldwide Trojan horse event that enabled human rights and freedoms to be trampled. dangerous medical interventions to be normalized, and an unprecedented transfer of wealth to take place from ordinary people to the super rich. And that transfer of wealth is not even over yet. There is also deep concern that this was just a trial run and that the imminent promulgation of the World Health Organization's pandemic treaty and amended international health regulations will take these tyrannical measures to an entirely different level. Like I said, they are not done yet. And yes, there is a they. Remember that war between good versus evil? They, when I say, are the evil. The WCH, or World Council for Health, has published a legal brief on preventing the abuse of public health emergencies in response to these concerns. This document explains how governments use the declaration of an unjustifiable state of emergency as a legal instrument to deny people their basic human rights and freedoms and to grant themselves extraordinary powers. Ladies and gentlemen, I've got so much to talk about today that I'm probably going to put out a second news video out later on in the day. But take a look at the links that I leave behind. Go and read the rest of these articles by yourself. Inform yourselves. I personally believe that their plan is to continue to use crises in order to continue to take away our liberties. Little by little, the frog in boiling water. The question is this: will we, the frog, get out of the water before it boils? Having said that, thank you very much again to the sponsor of this video, Genesis Gold Group. God bless every single one of you. God bless America. I'm Alaska Prepper. I'm out.